Recording started.
What's up, everybody? My name is B-Max, aka Brandon. Tonight, this is episode 14 of the Anime Dojo. We have a lot of our plate this evening. We're gonna do the watch along of Dead Mount Death Play episode 3 and the Jujutsu Kaisen episode 27. If you've seen anything with Jujutsu Kaisen episode 27, that's gonna hit your heartstrings. We've had a couple of those when me and Chris watched Hell's Paradise. But I'm alongside Chris and Deon. Gentlemen, how are you doing this evening?
Doing great. Doing great.
So,
How about yourself?
doing well. Can't complain. I will say this has been a
Good.
very interesting summer season for anime. Reason I say that, we're about to get into the anime charts from Anime Corner. They do the charts every week where fans vote on the charts and they see what people are thinking about different anime and different things across the summer season. So if you look at the charts, sent the guys earlier today, you can see on the chart there's actually two big things that I've noticed. One, Kaizen went from 4 to 1. Bleach stayed in the same place. My Happy Marriage went from 6 to 3, and then Jobless Musenshi Tensei dropped 1 spot. Zom 100 dropped 4 spots. And then Undead Girl Murder Farce dropped 1 spot. And then everything else, The Girl That Forgot Her Glasses, Dark Gathering, and Stray Dog. And then the last one, the 7 through 9 stayed in the same place. And then number 9, what really was number 9 is now number 10. So I'm going to start with Deon for this. Out of all the chart things you see here, what was the one that really surprised you?
I would say Jujutsu Kaisen going back up to number 1. And that's only a surprise because it dropped so far last time and we were wondering why. And then to see it shoot right back up to the top with this episode, it's like what happened between the last episode and this episode that would make that drastic change?
Okay. Chris, what is your big takeaway from the list that you see?
My biggest thing was Zom 100. I don't think it would have beaten Jujutsu Kaisen, but I would have thought it would have been at least in the top 3.
Okay. I will agree with you. Zom 100's on this list. The Zom 100 being at 5 is kind of low. The other one that we all mentioned in our little text group that we have is My Happy Marriage, jumping from 6 to 3. I've been interested in watching My Happy Marriage. I also know it's not rough anime. It's very, how can I put this? Not depressing, but it's like it has a very downhearted kind of somber story that's very sad. And it's weird because the premise, and we all might watch it later, but I'm just gonna give the basic premise of the show, is that this girl is part of this family that she got disowned from, but yet her dad still sells her off to be married. And yet she's married to this dude that is very powerful and very rich. The only reason he did it is because of the power and money the guy had. But she acts like a servant to him, even though she's married to him. And she still has that servant mentality, even though she's been a servant for her own family. So basically, it feels like Cinderella in a sense, but a little bit darker.
That's just what we needed, a darker Cinderella story.
And
Disney makes anime.
Yeah, basically. But then I'm actually kind of shocked. The other thing I'm shocked by is Musenshi Tensei dropping 1 spot. And we'll get into reason I think why in a second. But what was the other thing you really think kind of move things around? Is it because these episodes are more deeper this season? Like we have a lot more deep topics they're talking about, or is it just because now we got some action in Jujutsu Kaisen that bumped it up, and now we have a little more story in Made My Happy Marriage that's a little more kind of interesting. What do you think makes that change so much week by week? And I'll start off with Chris. What'd you say?
I was saying, Deon, he can go on, but
Oh yeah, either one of y'all can go.
See, I'm concerned now with this list because I just was looking at the last list previously, the one we went over last week, and seeing Jujutsu Kaisen drop 3 spots from, I think it was number 1 the week before that.
Correct. It was.
It's like that episode to me wasn't bad. The last episode we watched last week, it wasn't a bad episode for it to drop to 4. So I'm worried if people are actually paying enough attention to the episodes, or if they're just like, oh, he didn't tell anyone today, let's drop this. Or is it really the fact that everything else did so bad that Jujutsu Kaisen got pushed up? But and then
so that makes sense. The only thing is that there was a lot of anticipation for that first episode too.
Yeah,
but
that's true. But can I make an honorable mention real quick? I'm sorry for Bleach holding down the number 2 spot consecutively. Like, I love Bleach. So for it to be holding down the number 2 spot consecutively and everything else battling, I think it deserves to be number 1 at this point.
But it's also,
but continue.
No, but you're not wrong. But I think there's 2 things you mentioned, and you and Chris mentioned 2 good things. One, Deon, you mentioned with Bleach. Bleach has stayed in number 2 for the past 2 weeks, and like we talked about last week, Bleach is an older series. Bleach is one of those like from the early 90s, late 80s, been around for a long time. So it has that value behind it, that name value. But on the flip side, everything else is battling. I see a point you brought up. And Chris knows this because we watched Tales of Paradise. You brought up the point, Deon, that are people not watching the shows and just wanting to see the action, or just doesn't really care? But look at a show like Tales of Paradise, which doesn't have a great amount of action all the time, but it's heavy story plot. It's heavy story.
Yeah.
Are people getting overwhelmed by a lot of story? The top 4 shows, out of the top 4, 1 is probably major story things. Which is My Happy Marriage. Not a lot of action, a lot of story. But then you go from...
That's what makes it so interesting. That's probably why I want to go watch it.
Yeah.
It's like there was some battle-heavy anime.
But then you go from 5 to 7. Or actually, I'll go, so 5 to 7. Zom 100 is pretty much a comedy. Not a comedy, but it's like it's a fun take on the zombie genre. And the Undead Girl Mystery, me and Chris talked about this yesterday. We were watching another anime. That's just basically a horror mystery show. So it's like your Clue type show. Like you're trying to figure out the mystery and what's going on with this, this world or this person, these people. And then the girl with forgot her glasses. That's more like a romantic story based. So it is kind of odd. It's kind of interesting because I think people like what they like. I get that, but I also think you're not wrong when it comes to the understanding of, hey, are people just not really are people tuning out and just watching for action, or are they really listening to what the character's saying or listening to what's happening in the scene? Mind you, this was voted on by 9,210 people. That's a lot of people. So that also tells you these margins aren't slim for some of them.
Yeah, that's a.
Are the people just voting for the current show that they're watching, or the people that are actually voting in this poll are actually watching the shows for themselves and getting an accurate poll? You know what I mean?
And that's the other thing. That's the other thing when I come back to this. It also reminds me, and I don't know how much you all follow this, but Rotten Tomatoes. I really don't care for Rotten Tomato ratings for movies very often because critics and fans don't have the same type of thinking. So fans might love something amazingly, but critics hate it. Critics might like it, but fans don't like it. So they're never one and the same. And usually I would say, do it, watch it. Like I'm thinking, watch it for yourself and see if you enjoy it. That's the big thing with that.
Yeah, definitely. And then you always have that objective biasness to what people like. So if the majority of people like action animes, and you don't, you like romantic animes, like The Girl I Forgot, or The Girl I Like Forgot Her Glasses. That's going to do bad if you're in the majority. On these like the rating scales like this one. It's going to do bad, and it could be a great anime to you.
Mm-hmm.
But just because you're the majority, it's going to do bad on the ratings. And then you got stuff like Bungo Stray Dogs that I'm not a fan of.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, it's where it's supposed to be.
I will say this: we're only in week 3. I know last time when Chris did this, by week 5 or 6, we kind of saw where things fell out. And after we got to week 5 or 6, it kind of stayed the same through the rest of the weeks with minor changes. I'm going to be interested once we get to week 5 or 6 of some of these animes, so like Jujutsu Kaisen, like Mutenki Tensei, like Bleach, and see where people think after that point. And maybe at that point, it might level out. But ultimately, I think it's a good.
A few people might have went ahead and seen more of the anime too, more of the other animes as well.
Correct, and that's the big thing.
Yeah.
So now let's go from that to the other picture I sent y'all. So this was from I think it's an anime Twitter account and a couple other, it's a news site basically. So they tweeted out that we are getting some information about My Hero Academia Season 7. So my question to you, gentlemen, what do you think we get? Do we think we get a release date for later this year or early 2024, or do we get a teaser trailer or something of that sort? Because if we're getting anime, or if we're getting something about My Hero Academia Season 7 already, the manga's already done. So this is the last part of this show. What could they really show us? That's really going to make people hype. If you already read the manga, you already know what happens. But
what if they do some really messed up stuff? What if they do something really messed up and they say it's canceled?
Damn. That. Ooh. Yeah, you wouldn't want to do that to fans. I mean, fans would be very not happy.
Boy, they would never. Oh man.
Because you let
I just hope it doesn't go. I just hope it doesn't go the Attack on Titan route, where it's this big anticipation, and then they give you this completely twisted season of, excuse my French for all you Titans out there, crap.
I do agree. I don't want to see them do the Attack on Titan thing where they split it up into like part 1, part 2, part 1, final season part. Yeah, no, don't do that, please. That we don't need. But I'm also kind of worried they're just gonna string us out with a bunch of like teaser stuff too. If we get a bunch of teaser things like, oh, here's an image of Bakugo, here's an image of, all these characters of what they were like in wouldn't be fun.
Like they did for the movie, just gave us an image of Deku in his
Yeah.
What would be interesting to see? If they take a page from Demon Slayer and put out a small movie for their first episode.
I would be down for that. You put out like the first episode, like a 45-minute long first episode for My Hero Academia. Oh, you will definitely get people come to see it. Like that's highly likely. That could be done.
They already put out like a few movies that were highly anticipated and sought after. So if they release one now for the ending, yeah, that would definitely create some buzz and make people want to come watch.
Exactly.
But I also think it's weird that we're getting a news site dropping this information and it says it's going to happen next week. Being my broadcasting background, I'm wondering what your source is, who you're hearing this from. I'm also wondering, how'd you hear it? Because I know in broadcasting terms, like you can find, you have sources that are anonymous, that are off the record. So it's like, how do you say this without any real backing it up, unless you have the backup of like, oh, the director said it, or the guy who's done something else. I don't it's kind of like that's the only thing I'm kind of like worried about.
Well, Brandon, like yesterday when me and you talked about it, we talked about what I still think is probably the perfect example. Like Zone 100 literally just debuted, right?
Yes, it did. Oh, yeah. I know where you're going. Okay. Continue.
Yeah, Netflix already has a live action adaptation coming out.
Yes, they do.
And they have the trailer.
Yeah. I mean,
And the really thing that's really, really good about it is how close the trailer was to the first episode, to the first anime episode. That says a lot.
That you got to think how much of that was actually planned before the anime's release.
Exactly.
That was probably planned way in advance. If the anime did well enough in the first couple episodes, they probably are going to drop that.
Because, Brandon, like you said you watched the trailer, right?
I did.
Did you watch the trailer? Did you watch the live action trailer next to the original? Well, next to the anime trailer?
Did I go back? I did this morning, yeah. And it's like a 1-to-1, pretty much like not almost 1-to-1, but close to 1-to-1 recreation, like the first episode. Like they literally do a lot of stuff.
How do you put out live adaptation right when the anime just came out? When the trailer is verbatim same to the anime trailer. Two different studios, because one is an animation studio, one is a live action studio, which I came up with the same trailer.
Yeah. I hate to say
I
it,
mean,
Chris.
Netflix has been on this anime kick lately.
Yes, they have. They have.
Right.
I hate to say it, Chris, but you might be
Filling out
right
these live action.
because I think what could happen here, I could see them. I forget who. I forget who makes My Hero Academia. I could see them ultimately go, you know what? We're just drop this trailer next week. Randomly drop a trailer and a couple images on a website, maybe on a news site. Here's some tease for season 7. But then on top of that, we find out that season 7 is going to hit at the beginning of next year.
Wait a minute, I just had a
I don't think it's gonna come out the next.
another messed up idea.
Okay.
What if all they do for a teaser trailer is drop an audio clip? That's it. The audio clip.
That would still be something.
Views, no,
I mean, people will still be hyped. That's the problem. Like, I think no matter what they do for that, it's gonna be hype. But I think you have to make sure it's not gonna kill people's momentum or kill people's passion for it. Because I think a lot of people are looking forward to season 7 because they know what happens in season 6. So you have to make it make sense.
that's true.
So if you don't make it make sense, people are gonna be like, "Okay, you just gave us a random audio." Now, if you give us a random audio clip from one of the episodes that you like, one of the first couple episodes that has some big revelation in it, like a dialogue line. Oh yeah, you're really gonna have people going down a rabbit hole trying to find the manga. So you keep people. That's the other way you can keep people hyped. You just give them something that makes sense to the manga, or even makes sense to older episodes of the anime.
Yeah, but the manga's already done.
Yeah, it is.
So it's already, we're already done with the manga. Most people have already read it. They read the manga before the anime even finished season 6. They were caught up. So once that finished, they were probably on it.
Correct, they were.
The only thing I could think of them doing right now is releasing a bunch of hearsay stuff, a bunch of non-canon things, a bunch of fan-made art, and keeping this going for the rest of the year because we only have a few months left of good anime stuff in this year. And with everything being released the way it is right now, I think they're going to wait until next year so that they can be the big boys on campus. Next year, they're going to flood us with season 7 so that they can be on top. They don't have to compete with Bleach and Jujutsu and Demon Slayer. Like right now, I feel like they're going to hold that back and be like, yeah, look, fan art. Hey, look, look at Deku. And even this image, it's, not an image that's out, but it's not, it doesn't look like a canon image.
Deon, you bring up a really good point because I forget it's whether it's in between seasons 4 or 5 of My Hero Academia where that season ran simultaneously with Dragon Ball Super.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow!
And there was a specific scene, and it actually held its own against Dragon Ball Super.
The only thing with that, though, I could see that being the case. The only problem is we have two problems. One, we don't know when Attack on Titan, the final season, is going to come out. There's no release date for that yet, officially. 2, we don't know if that's anything else that's bigger that might come out later. So, we randomly could get Demon Slayer, the training arc, randomly come out next year just because they have it done. So it's so I think it's gonna be so interesting. If you're right, Deon, I think if they do have it to themselves, they can do whatever they want. They could do a tease. They could do a tease of fan art. They could do a tease of people making the cosplays. They can do whatever they want, and then they have it all to themselves. So it makes sense. But do you want to wait so long to figure out when nothing else is coming out? That's the other problem. and burning out that flame of people's hype.
Well, when did the manga, the last issue release? Do we know?
Early 20, I think it was like 2021. I think it was like 2021, 2020, somewhere in there.
See, and I know for a fact they didn't plan on releasing the last copy of the manga until 2023.
Correct. It was gonna be. It was gonna be delayed. It was gonna be delayed to this year. I remember that. They did talk about that because the manga mentioned that.
Horikashi, the creator.
Yeah, the creator. Yeah.
He wanted to release it later. So, with that being said, they could also put out a bunch of hype about it being released later, and then bam, slap you in the face with it.
Okay.
In what, September, November?
Yeah.
Was the next like big rush for anime?
Yeah, you can do that.
That would be cool. I wouldn't mind that, especially
that would be very
at
interesting.
the end of the year, anime comes down. So.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I could see it. It would be something different for them, like an early, so like late September, early October release, or early January release, like a January, February release. Yeah, that could be done.
That's it. I see that. A January release with a 45-minute first episode, maybe even an hour of a bridge episode, and then going into a part 1, season 7.
Ooh. Oh, wow. Okay. You're talking. All right. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. Both y'all aren't wrong.
We know they release like movies and stuff every 2 seconds.
Yeah, they do.
My hero.
Neither one of y'all are wrong. So I could see either one happening, but I also think it's going to be very interesting to see what we get next week. I'm looking forward next Tuesday. If we get it before Tuesday, I'll be interested to see what we talk about with that on next podcast. But before we get into Dead Mount Death Play, so I hope you get up Dead Mount Death Play episode 3, as we're talking about this last little question. This kind of sparked a question I had about censorship. So, with the most current episode of Muzinti Tensen Jobless coming out, episode 3, they censored a couple scenes, or one scene. And it brought up a conversation on a YouTube channel I partially follow, but I know that I've watched him before. He's very good. He mentioned the fact that a lot of people were kind of annoyed. Even on Twitter, people were just like, why did they censor it? What was the purpose of censoring it? Why would you censor this thing? And I'm going to ask you gentlemen this. Do you think censorship should be a thing in anime at all? Or knowing what we know about how TV rules work across the world, different parts of the world, like in the US, Japan, all over the world, is it just kind of necessary evil of watching anime? They're going to have to censor certain things out because of those rules.
Go ahead, Deon.
Oh, wow. All right. So first off, let me say yes and no to it being necessary. If we look at history of anime, we know where it comes from. We know that it comes from the Japanese culture, and their censorship rules in Japan are way more stricter than they are in America.
Mm-hmm.
But what we fail to realize as a older crowd who loves anime, a lot of this anime goes on to, especially in America now, onto these children networks. So a lot of the censorship is, very needed. But here's where I say no. This world has a problem with putting things in your face that doesn't need to be. Like, I don't need anime like High School DxD shoved onto Toonami or something. If I want to watch that type of anime or some type of ichi, I'll just go and look for it as the person, old enough to make that decision. Like, so places like, what was one that we used to watch back in the day? I'm going to show my age here. Was it like Fox 4 or ABC or WB or something like that would show things like One Piece, Dragon Ball Z.
So you get to the Toonami era of like Cartoon Network. Yeah. So yeah, I get where you're going.
Yeah,
Continue.
like those things. As a child, I'm watching that stuff on Saturday morning. So yeah, making Sanji's cigarette a lollipop. Yeah, it may look goofy to me now as an adult, but back then, cool. I'm all right with that censorship. But if you have to black out the entire screen, then that's not an anime you should have there in the first place. If you have to, completely censor the entire episode, it's like listening to a rap song and they're only saying 2 words. Like, there's no point in even putting this on the radio. There's no point in putting it on the air. So it's like, yeah, you need censorship for some things, but if it's too much censorship or just over and just dramatically censored, you might as well just pull it. I'll go watch it somewhere else. Just pull it. It's no point in having it there. You can't watch it anyway.
Okay.
That's an example. I don't know if you guys have watched, I believe it's season 4 of Jojo.
I've seen parts of JoJo, so I kind of know where you're going with this.
It's a completely bloody anime. They're destroying people left and right. Gore is all over the place. But they censor Jotaro smoking a cigarette. So it's like, where do you draw that line? Like, America's like, okay, y'all can kill whoever y'all want to, but you can't show underage smoking. Because, Jotaro's like 16 in the show. Like, you can't show underage smoking. But you can show this 16, 17-year-old kill whoever you want them to. So it's like, all right, is this even necessary at this point? Or should you just pull the anime from this completely and just let us go watch it on our own?
Okay. Chris, what do you think about this question?
All right, so
you probably, me and you kind of already talked about this last night a little bit because we were watching something that had a little more censorship to it, and it's kind of the fan servicey side of things. Chris or Deon talked about the blood side of things. You're probably going to talk about the other side of it, and I'll kind of combine the two at the end. But go ahead.
Okay, so just like Deon was saying, censorship is absolutely necessary. Because censorship is what keeps the innocent, innocent. However, just like Deon was saying, there has to be a cutoff line. Now, if you ask me, it's one of those things where technology went faster than what the world was ready for. Because I'm sure if the internet was more secure, I should say, then you would have more restricted things that were only capable for restricted people, I should say, if you catch my drift. But with that being said, since we don't live in a perfect society where people aren't perfect and nobody does perfect things, censorship is necessary all the way up to a degree. Me personally, if you create a manga that has some risky situations, whether they be physical, mental, sexual, or any other type, if you mix it with simple enough things where kids understand what's going on, but you have to cover it up, that's where you're wrong. If I can't watch it in front of my parents, then I shouldn't be. Everybody who's listening should be able to catch my drift. I think we all went through that one point to where parents were covering our eyes from certain things in certain movies. Blah 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 blah.
So I'm gonna pause you right there. And I do apologize to kind of cut it right in. By the way, he had mentioned that same line when we talked yesterday. So this is not surprising. And also, the thing is, like I mentioned earlier, I have the broadcasting background. There are such things as safe harbor rules for that purpose. Nothing that explicit, bloody, whatever you want to say, doesn't go on until after 10 p.m. Whatever time zone that would be. 10 p.m. Eastern, Central, Pacific. After that point, then yes, you can. That stuff can be shown on TV because by that point, kids would be in bed, all that kind of stuff. I do agree though with one. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that at that point, it's not on the animator anymore or the network anymore. That's on the parent. If you're letting your child stay up till 10, 11 o'clock watching TV, then that's on you as an adult, not the stuff that they're watching. You know, you got to be in a little bit more control, but that's a whole different conversation. So continue before I get in trouble.
No, you're good. You're good. You're fine. But it's also something he mentioned, the video I watched on it. I thought about later. Think about, Chris might know this. Think about Mortal Kombat. People show off the fatalities in Mortal Kombat. The only problem is, if you do that on YouTube, you get flagged for it because there's a bunch of blood. So what you usually have to do, we're getting back to character. I think we're getting back to character this year, maybe. We don't know yet. Most people had to use Reptile because his blood was green. So the color of the blood just made it. You could change the color, use the green blood, and it didn't affect anything. Like you could still upload the video with all the fatalities, show them all off, no problem. I think the big thing with this is with the Mutensi thing was that I think the guy says in the video they animated the scene and they just had to black it out, which ultimately means they're gonna put it out on DVD. Makes sense. I think the thing is with Crunchyroll now, with the fact we have Crunchyroll, with the fact Crunchyroll even ask you, they're like, are you mature enough for this content? In the settings, I think there should be a balance of, yes, you have the account. If you're the primary account holder, yes, you can say, yeah, I'm mature enough for this account. But also make parental controls of like, hey, they can't get in this kind of stuff. They can't be this kind of anime. And it kind of it balances it out. And I think that's going to be the big thing that's going to have to change. Because I think ultimately, if you make a parental control of Crunchyroll or whatever, like wherever you're watching anime, I think you could add more of those like High School DxD, which they just added the actual like really not the normal, actually really weird, nice like updated version of that. You have High School of the Dead. You have shows like you have so many different shows that do that well, but yet you can't show off the full potential because of what it is. I don't know what's the best way to fix that problem.
Which is funny. It's funny because you got stuff like High School DxD on Hulu, which is one of the most popular streaming services in the world, and kids watch it. But again, to me, it's not on film. Yeah, it's the it's the original version. But it's like, you as an adult, like, do we really blame the people putting it out there? Because there's clearly a fan base for it, you know, so they're clearly going to put stuff out there. Stuff like that isn't the problem. What I feel is the problem is stuff like, and I hate to say this because I love it, but One Piece. One Piece will throw like little shots of stuff at you and little little things at you, but it's clearly like a kid magnet for as an anime. You know, it's like if they put Ash making out with Misty in the middle of a scene of Pokemon, and you're like, that is a kid-friendly anime.
Yeah.
But you gotta have that, like you're saying, that parental control, but you gotta have more parental guidance. Because as a parent, I'm not gonna let my child watch things that I don't know they're watching. You know, now if they sneak and do stuff, that's all right. That's on y'all. I can't blame, Demon Slayer, or not Demon Slayer, they don't really do it too much, but, High School DxD, since we mentioned that one already, I can't blame them for making this way because I let my kid watch it, So for someone like Crunchyroll, they're going to be like, oh, no, we're not going to let any of this show. Like, that's not fair to the people who can watch it.
And I think with the jobless episode, I think the thing was, like, I think Chris told me he's been watching it, but like it goes into deeper things about the person and his like love life and everything. And they've talked about it in a couple of episodes too. And I'm just like, it's the same thing with Demon Slayer. When Demon Slayer this past season was gonna come out, it got delayed like twice, because Japan law was so strict about blood and how the episode was going to be animated. I think they were worried it was going to be too much. But it's funny, the one thing people thought was going to be the big hook for Demon Slayer, what's going to get in trouble, and it didn't really matter much at all, was Mitsuri's bath scene in like the first the third episode of the show, where she's in the spring and you see her full like body standing up. And she comes standing up in the spring. It's kind of like, yeah, they probably didn't care about that. Like that's not the issue.
Yeah, they don't.
It's more or less the blood and everything, and all the fighting you're gonna have, and everything else gonna happen.
It's weird, man. It's like that in video games too. You see, yes. I don't know if any of you play like Gears of War, where like you can switch on the gore factor, you make everything sparks or blood. Like, I should need that option. Like, kids, don't play this game. It's bloody. Like you said, Mortal Kombat. Like, yeah. I have a 7-year-old that plays Mortal Kombat. I also don't mind her watching bloody, gory things. It's fine. Blood happens. Gore happens. I'm not worried about her growing into being a serial killer, but I'll still shy her away from the sexual graphics of stuff. So it's like, you're okay with sexual graphics, but you let that's weird.
But let me ask you something. Do you think that's a cultural thing?
Actually, I don't. Simply because when I was growing up, I wasn't allowed to watch anything like at all at my mom's house. Then I'll go with the older people or with my brothers or something like that, and they're just like, whatever, you know not to do it, whatever, you know not to say it, like, and that may be the cultural aspect of it. But then I grew up around other people that, didn't come from the same culture. They came from different countries and stuff, and they were worse than me. They were like, oh, no, you can say it. Don't mind these cuss words. Yeah, little kids say it. Don't care about this. They know what sex is. They know what this is. They know what that is. Just whatever. It's life. And I'm like, oh, okay. You got countries where they're drinking before they're able to fully learn their ABCs. So it's like, I don't know who's more sensitive to it. I know Japan is very sensitive when it comes to certain laws, but it's like weird. Like, you can smoke, but you can't snort cocaine, but you can shoot up heroin. Like, okay. I see that in movies where it's like, oh, well, we can't do this, but we can do that.
So would you say
this is going to change the rate?
So just like so to me, it sounds like you're going back and saying, well, what we've already been saying is just it's about the maturity level of the person watching the content.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely that. You know what I think they should do? And there may already be a system in place that I'm not aware of, but they should have, and I know like Funimation does this where they come across the screen and they're like, this is for a mature audience only or something like that. But they should have anime ratings like they have movie and TV ratings.
They do.
They do, and
Like full on like sections of, okay, this section of Crunchyroll is all Y rated anime. So it's gonna be completely censored, completely just Pokemon and the first season of Digimon and like all this other stuff, and then you go up in maturity level, then you get access to the anime that has to be censored on certain channels and stuff. But it's not censored because it's for adults.
So then, so because this is what I believe Crunchyroll is doing. But before I say that, I want to ask you this question. So with that being said, do you think, or how would you stop a underage kid from changing their own settings if they know the password to the account?
oh, that's a tough one.
Again, that goes to parental guidance. I can't be blamed for putting out a product. It's like rap music. People are like, oh, rap, back in the day, they're like, oh, rap music is the cause for violence and youth rebellion. Who's letting their children listen to rap music? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, oh, well, video games are causing kids to be violent. Well, who's buying the video games? Who's buying the Crunchyroll account? I don't know any kid that has access to money that can purchase a Crunchyroll account unless they have parental intervention.
You're right. So parental intervention is the thing to have. But let us be honest, when we were kids, we all had our moments where we did stuff our parents did not know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's going to happen. But is that, like, if you have a movie theater and they're like, yeah, you need to be over 18 to watch a R-rated movie, and you have to show your ID to get the tickets, and then you somehow get a stranger to go buy you an R-rated ticket, or you get somebody to go buy you a thing of alcohol so you can drink in the parking lot with your buddies. I'm showing my age. But, is that on the store for selling alcohol? Is that on the movie theater for playing that movie? Should they not play that movie? Should they not sell alcohol because your kid is bad? I'm not saying bad, but
I want to say I'm in agreement with you. It's the saying, like, how can we deter even those actions? How can we take it a step further to keep that type of content away from those who aren't mature?
We can't. It's going to always be out there. Even before technology got as advanced as it was kids stealing Playboys from their daddies. Like, going to the corner store and flipping through dirty magazines without their parents' permission. There was, oh, well, your older brother got this video game. Let's all go over his house and play it because none of our parents will let us buy it. Like, they're always going to have access to it. It becomes a dialogue between you and that person who isn't mature enough as an adult to say, that this is not for you. This isn't made for you. It's like alcohol. Like, you're not going to sit there and drink. I don't know if you have a glass of wine or something you're drinking, and your son comes up to you or your daughter comes up to you and they're like, "Ooh, mommy, what's that?" You're quickly gonna say, "This is an adult beverage. You cannot have this." But you don't do that with television, anime, video games, music.
Yeah.
If you feel like it's bad for them, you need to have that conversation with them. And then if they, like my kids, they want something, they'll come ask, "Hey, I want to watch Demon Slayer. I know you love this anime. Can I watch it?" Maybe. Let me make sure. Let me check first. Let me see if you're emotionally available to watch this. Or if they walk up and they're like, "Hey, she called me a bad word," they're not gonna quickly be like, "Hey, she called me a B word." No, they're gonna, "You called me a bad word," and it's because of that relationship we have. So if you don't have that relationship with your kids, you can't expect, the creators of a product to have that relationship with your kids. Who's gonna be on the better terms to tell your kid no? The person that you've never met who's putting this product out for the millions of people who get told yes, or you, the person in that household who has control over the accounts. Don't give the kids the password if you feel like they're going to do something sneaky with it. Get those alerts. Listen, technology is so advanced. I get an alert on my phone every time my TV comes on. You have to be in that control seat. You can't blame everybody else for everything. That's just, at least with anime and TV now.
I will say this.
I have nothing else to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was amazing. Also, the fact that's coming from somebody who has children. So we're not splitting hairs here. We're all in agreement right now. I just think it's interesting because it's kind of funny to me because I think a lot of people think, and he even mentioned Twitter, which is called X now. That's a whole another can of worms I could get into. But it's funny, people on Twitter were like, "So why don't they just put it out there? Why can't they just put it out there? Do you want the anime studio to get in trouble? Do you want the anime studio to have to really dumb it down? No. So they're gonna do it the best way they can possible, as if they do a black screen, they've animated it probably, but then when they release the DVD, go get it for yourself." That is the one thing that I think that's gonna be the interesting thing about this. The DVD market is still around, so you can still find that stuff. It might not be easy to find, but it's still findable. It's funny. Me and Chris started watching. How do you say the name of the anime, Chris? Or I showed you the anime. I started. Tempura. Which is actually really good. Yes, it's very fan service-y, absolutely. But there's a story behind it, and the fan service built into that story. Yeah. Now, is it if you really just want to? I don't know. If you really want to go higher, and I remember I watched another YouTuber who mentioned he thought it was kind of because it's not a great fan service. It's kind of weird. I would rather just watch hentai, but I'm like, it's also a balance. Like, am I gonna watch that in front of my parents? No. But at the same time, I understand what my limit is, how I know what my parents would actually watch with me. So it really doesn't make much sense to be able to go, "Hey, here's this show, but some of the stuff can't be shown by kids. Fine, censor it." But yet, if we're talking about things like Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon, do I think there are things they could rate better? Absolutely. We do have ratings for certain shows or anime. They're not always popping in the corner, so you don't see them all the time. But yes, I think Demon Slayer is rated MA for mature for the most part, or mature to 14, depending on the episode. Pokemon's a lot skewed younger, PG, and it's an interesting topic. And I think just seeing how these animes this season are really diving into that more dark, more things like depression, anxiety, that kind of stuff. It's gonna make it can you be emotionally focused on understanding what they're trying to get at. Is it something that you can handle? And like you said, it depends on if you're having that conversation with somebody about it. Like if you could ask you, "Hey, can I watch this?" Check it first. So there's nothing wrong with what we're talking about. I think it's just there should be better work across the board. On that note,
Definitely.
On that note, we're going into Death Mount Death Play. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to say this. If you haven't already listened to us talk about some of this stuff through the other episodes or just when we did Demon Slayer, when we did Hell's Paradise, go back and watch them. I have to give Deon some credit. He's been very insightful, and you've got insights from people who know what they're doing and know what they're talking about. From Deon and Chris, that they're both anime veterans. And we got Mahaley a couple weeks ago when she was with us for the last couple episodes of Hell's Paradise. So I implore you, think about it for yourself. Kind of think through when you're watching something and think why you watch it. If you watch it for a certain reason, that's not a bad thing. Like what you like. But understand that there are rules. I think the rules behind TV and visual medium and even music and everything else has a reason behind it. So let's get into Dead Mount Death Play episode 3. Episode 3 of this show was kind of weird. And it had a little bit of everything. So in a second, I will say 3, 2, 1, and then we'll get going. Gentlemen, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
No worries. Take your time.
Ready? I'm ready.
All right. So 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Guess go so real. He's having the undead help him move. Really? Okay.
I mean, free labor.
Yeah.
I need a meter on his magic level at this point.
That's the only problem. Like he said in the last episode, he's like, he has no magic. He can't use all his magic. What?
Like, man, you got enough magic to hire undead movers, but you couldn't fight.
Man.
You know what's funny? I love this
I do
song.
like this song.
It has a darker tone. It's not the upbeat, like really happy song. It has like a soft, darker tone, but fits this opening. So it's not like overly excited. It's just kind of.
Yeah, it's like it fits perfectly. Like they made the song to the opening, not separate. Yeah.
Now you forgot she had screw loose. What? Okay. What? Okay.
That's a car right there.
Oh my goodness.
Oh wait, they moved into the torture building. Okay.
That's the same place he killed her at.
Uh-huh.
Wow, that makes that even more creepy.
Yeah. You're around the guy who killed you in the place you died. Although technically she did kill him first. So
Yeah.
But it wasn't in the same building though.
No, it wasn't. That's true. That is true. It wasn't.
See?
Mm.
I'm shocked he's telling him this.
I mean, what can he do to stop him?
It's true.
That's true.
He has nothing to lose.
He has nothing to lose, but
Like,
it's also
for real,
like
Mm.
high performance Wi-Fi. Okay.
So he wants revenge. He just doesn't want them to keep hunting.
you really just grabbed. Okay.
I love her, man.
Yeah, so
Through Harley Quinn vibe.
Wait. You asking why you brought him? He brought her back to life. So you didn't like working her. That's funny.
it's a drone, but the propellers aren't spinning. Yeah, what would y'all do if somebody next to y'all said something like that?
Become their best friend.
Probably. Same.
You ain't gonna play with me, bro. You love me, remember?
Make sure you throw that dude a happy birthday every year on time.
Every year. We having an anniversary for our friendship. Especially after I seen them make skeletons move around.
Wait. So we live in this is a world where there's a bunch of assassins. So we just have a bunch of hitmen and say, okay, hit people.
Different syndicates, all type of stuff.
Yeah.
And the Yakuza is still up and blooming. That's what this guy works for, he said.
Along with the EDM fight music. Yeah.
Oh, right to the neck.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Hey, the gun still wins, huh?
Middle of a dialogue.
Oh, y'all done for.
That's creepy.
Y'all done for.
If you see somebody's eyes glowing red at night, you know that would be my clue to mind my own business.
The fact he was talking to himself.
Wait, that zombie thing was actually real? So it wasn't a. Oh wow. Okay.
He's a zombie.
Nah, bro.
Oh,
You're wrong.
God.
Wow.
He literally just crushed him.
That's the dude from
I need him to fix the stud on his neck, man. Looking like a Frankenstein monster.
All right. Okay.
Do we need that censor?
She's just staring. Like, two all girls are dressed so casually.
See, like, that's
Where's
really like
the
a whole
censor?
that was designed to be a comic relief, but it was like, but yeah, they probably could have done it a different way.
Mm-hmm.
I think like what was that, the first episode? No,
Yeah.
second episode where she checked her at the wound. She was so careless. I think her character is meant to balance his like this stoutness.
Yeah, he's super serious.
Yeah. Yeah, you are.
You admit it.
Complete scumbag. Ooh.
What?
and just turn you into a vampire.
Okay.
It is a type of undead.
It is a type of no.
It's a class change. So it's gonna be the link to each other. The soft spot for kids.
I know there was a third girl in that room. Okay. That's a random shot.
They show her as a carefree woman or powerful woman, and so therefore her being obscene isn't necessarily. Yeah.
No, it's not.
That's Bruce Wayne.
Bruce, yeah, basically,
Pretty much.
basically, she's the first fan of this world.
Philanthropist playboy or playgirl.
I'm gonna bring up a thing. Have any of y'all ever played Bayonetta?
I've watched
Bayonetta?
the movie,
Uh-huh.
but I haven't played the game.
This reminds me of Rodon's bar because Rodon was like the head of all these, all these assassins,
Yeah.
and they he helped all the assassins. So she's like helping all these different assassins, but the bar is like the place they meet. The other thing the other thing it reminds me of is John Wick, but that's the
This is the hotel.
yeah.
Pizza looks good. I'm not gonna lie.
Bro, anime food always looks so good.
They do food in anime so
The
well.
way that Jesus.
She was testing it.
He couldn't even finish it.
And now now that's my favorite character.
He's awesome for that one, right?
He kept it 100.
He's the first guy that doesn't catch a nosebleed when a girl bats his eyes at her.
Right. That shadow
he
shit
cold.
was done.
Is he from another world too?
We'll find out more about him probably a little sooner rather than later. So, what? Okay, you were talking to them 1 minute. What did you do the next? Okay. All right.
Wow.
This is a nail gun. Now she can use her teeth to do it, and she can say, all right. All right.
She's a monster.
No, she's your typical American white girl.
That's now a zombie.
No, it's not.
Ooh.
His legs are folded like a pretzel.
Was the fire-breathing bug a reference to Fire Force?
Probably.
I don't believe it. But I don't want to.
My dog said yes.
So that is episode 3 of Dead Mountain Death Play. Let's get into this. So we start this episode off where the last episode ends off. Not fully ends off, but ends off with the guy saving the people. Now it's on video. Everybody's finally seen it. It's on like YouTube, on the news, all that stuff, and the girl's watching it. So then she's watching and she's like so excited to see this undead dude do all these cool things. The next thing we see is him using a whistle to command undead skeletons to help them get into the new place they're going to be in. Okay, I have to ask this question. What y'all think of this first part of this episode? Because this episode kind of just started like kind of right from the left, right where it left off, but it also gave us like, oh wow, these characters are weird.
I think it gave like a sense of normalcy to what's to come. Like it's giving them a home base type of feeling. Like we're gonna see a lot of this place.
Yeah.
And then the twist came when they're like, "Oh, this is the same place. This is the same place where you killed her."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh,
That is so weird that they mention the fact this is
all
a
the
place that,
normalcy right there out the window."
yeah. So we go from
To say
that
the
to
least.
yeah, it throws normalcy just completely just out the back door and just kind of like lets it flow down a river. Like it literally just like they don't care at this point. So then,
Those one of those moments where it's like, huh? What's normal? Define normal.
yeah.
Yeah, so we're just gonna talk about it and how you like things that around killing people. Okay, that's y'all's normal. Okay.
So
Yeah.
then,
Oh,
then
you
we
comes
get,
on with her watching you. I'm like, hey, that's relatable. Dead people walk in.
Exactly.
so then we go from that to him explaining. He explains who he is because the guy with the goggle-looking glasses, I think they're glasses. We can't see his eyes. I don't think we've seen his eyes. The tech dude basically goes, "So who are you? Like, what are you about?" And I think the guy just mentions, "I'm this otherworldly thing," which the goggle glasses has seen. And he's like, "I'm also called the corpse god. I'm also this, that, and the other." And he's like, "I don't trust you." The goggles guy, like, "I don't trust you. I don't really think you're. I don't like you a lot." And the whole time, she's just like, "Oh, that's awesome. That's cool. Can you do other things?" I'm just like, "Are you?" And I love his line for that. He's like, "Do you have a screw loose?" And I'm like, "Did you not know she was crazy? Did you not know she was crazy already, or did you forget she was crazy?" I love that from him because he
Well,
did it. I think
obviously, that's not the first time they work together.
no, it's not the worst time. They do kind of mention that.
He stopped her from killing herself and was like, "Yeah, you can do that later. Just finish your job first." Who has the
Right.
screw loose here?
That's the other problem with that. So then we the guy asked more about Clarice. He asked about why Clarice he needs Clarice help to do some certain things. They kind of figure that out. Um, then they get called to a job. So the girl sees this guy. There's a guy outside that needs their help. The girl doesn't offer help because she's like, "I already have another job." But the guy that's controlling the body, the corpse god dude, goes, "I'll help you." Now this episode did not do a lot of cutting. I actually don't mind this. This cutting was actually kind of safe or good. So then we cut to the bar where the blonde haired dude's sitting at the bar half out of it, literally like done. And I was like, "We're cutting to a bar? What is this bar? What's this?" So the guy at the bar's out of it. He's like, "I just want to see Clarice. I need to talk to her." And he's like, "She's working later tonight. She's working at midnight." Midnight? That's not a double shift. Okay, that's kind of random. How do you? So my question is, what do you think about that part where we get all this dialogue and kind of things about learning about him, but also we figure out that even the guy, the tech dude, even doesn't like the girl. He's like, the girl's kind of nuts. Like that's insane. Like
He's nuts.
you don't know who you're working with. Like what the hell?
Okay. So they mentioned throughout. Well, they mentioned in the first two episodes that they worked together before. He knows her by name. So those are the two things that we know that they at least know of each other and probably have worked with each other. So the fact that but then again, she was already on some level of crazy because we know that from episode 2.
Yep, we do.
But he's coming out throughout that episode and all says like, now yeah, she was crazy, but now because she's a zombie, she's gonna be 10 times crazy.
Yeah.
And as she discovers her strength throughout the episode, we see like, oh, like yeah, she's actually like Harley Quinn crazy. Yeah.
So then we cut to them heading to this job. They go to this abandoned building. And we don't even know what's in this abandoned building. We don't have any indication of, hey, this like there's people here that we need to get rid of. So all these dudes are coming out and attacking her. And then so she goes on she's doing kicks, flips, she's like chopping one dude in the neck. And finally what takes her down is the guy that they tried to help pulls out a gun and just shoots her in the back twice. And I love Chris' line. He's like, well, that was kind of over fast. The gun wins there. And then when Chris said that, I thought it was kind of funny. But then the guy comes back, and the guy with the red eyes comes back and goes, oh, she's not dead, by the way. And he's like, what are you doing here? I'm going to kill you too. But then he's even more funny. I love your line, Chris. You're like, if you see red eyes and somebody's glaring at you like that, I think you need to run.
It's time to mind your own business.
It was so funny because it's like, yeah, they've played that right. So then he goes, she's
you make her
That's true. And he goes, she's a zombie, by the way. She's undead. Wait, what? Wait, what are you saying? And then she just gets up and just keeps knocking them out. And you're like, oh, she actually is undead. I thought he was kidding about episode 2 when she said that. It played to her being more like, I'm awesome. This is great. I'm loving this. It's like, okay, cool. So what did y'all think about that? Because that kind of tells you that they're getting a partnership, and this partnership is working, but she's also intrigued by him.
He's like a new girl, a girl that's just discovered caffeine.
Yeah.
So she's gonna, you know what I'm saying? So she's going to be hyped trying to discover what all she can do.
Yep.
Caffeine. A monster on monsters.
So then they
like a bang. There it is, a bang.
Yeah. So then they take out the rest of the people. He makes them into this amalgamation ball-looking thing. I don't know what you call this.
Naruto did it first.
Yeah.
Naruto did it first.
And just leaves it in the middle of the thing, and they leave. They go back to the base. They hang out. They're talking. They're having pizza, which, by the way, like Chris said, like Deon said, food in anime looks too good sometimes. It's kind of bad. And they talk, and they're kind of like, so what else can I? And she's like wondering what else she can do, and he's like holding the pizza, not really knowing if he can eat it. He's like, why would I eat this? This doesn't feel like I would need this food. And she even says, and he says to her, he says to her, like, why are you eating this? Like, I love pizza. I love carbs. Basically, I love carbs, basically. And then he figures out, he's like, the guy with the goblet was like, I need to watch him. He's not great. I make sure he's okay. Like, I don't trust him. But before they come back, so we come back, before they eat the pizza, you just see her pull her shirt up again and just like check her body. Like, is she okay? I'm just like, all right, fine. I do think that scene's kind of weird, but she's playing weird. So I'm not like too upset. But I think it's also kind of weird. We've seen that twice now. And it's just randomly after a mission, she goes, I'm going to check my stomach. I'm going to check my upper chest. I'm just making sure I'm still kicking. Like,
I will say in her defense for that, he has had holes put into her body,
which is fair. That's why I'm not like super like worried about it. But it's just like it's weird they've done it twice, and the second time around, there were no holes in her body. So it's like she just checking for the sake of checking. And I love his line because he said his line was like, "Do girls always undress just casually?" I mean, no, but
No,
I love how he's thinking the same thing. Everybody's thinking the same thing, including the character. He's like, "Wait, why is she doing this? This is over the top."
Yeah.
So then we go from
Like,
that.
it's like.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, in that moment, we're all thinking the same thing. It looks like Deon said, including the main character, and it's like we all know this is excessive for no reason, so we're gonna play like we don't know why we're doing this.
Yeah. So we go from that to seeing the dude talking to some guards, some like bouncers, guards, whoever. And he's saying, I'm sorry about the money. I don't have the money for the pizza, 60,000 yen. And he keeps talking to me, he keeps apologizing. Then we just randomly cut to Clarice with some girl, and they're just like talking on a bed in like lingerie, which is kind of interesting. And then they're talking about, I think they're talking about the dude. They're talking about how this dude is kind of weird, but I like him. I respect the kid. I want to help him. So she has like you said, Chris, she has a soft spot for kids or helping kids. And she's like the other elderly mother figure. But then I love the fact that you said something, and I think Deon did it too. Deon mainly said she's like Bruce Wayne. She's like Bruce Wayne, the Batman, in a sense, like she's just this high-powered, very strong, well-respected lady that it's probably just having fun for the sake of having fun. And I love her character because it's just interesting. It's not something different. It's not like she's over the top. She's not crazy, but she's calculated. She understands what she's doing. So what y'all think about we see the guy apologizing for the pizza, but then we see her and her way of doing things. What do you think about that whole little section there?
The duality of women, and I'll leave it at that.
That's a fair assessment.
I think they're simply just showing the difference in the stature of the Clarissa woman and these guys. Like, you guys are scrounging for pizza, and I'm sipping wine on the balcony in a bed with women.
Yeah, that's also fair. But then, we cut back to the people at the building. They're talking some more. They're kind of just talking because they're talking about whales and his power and everything. He's like, I could become. They're looking at a book. They're looking at a book that has vampires. She's like, oh, these are vampires. They're from our world. It's like, oh, I could become a vampire if I had enough power. She's like, you could. I'm like, yeah, I could. She's like, oh, I would love to see that, which is also kind of just funny. Him becoming a vampire, I thought that was kind of funny. If he ever became a vampire. But then we go back to the blonde-haired dude, and the blonde-haired dude gets a phone call. By the way, the blonde-haired dude, from the time we saw him earlier to now, he's probably out of his mind drunk. And that's the point. You get the point, like he's out of his mind drunk. So then he gets a phone call, but as he gets that phone call, one of the girls in the bar who's wearing this bunny outfit walks past him, and he just tries to grab her butt. I'm like, what? Like, okay, you just like not, and she kind of runs off. So he answers a phone call. The phone call is from the dude that we saw earlier that's with those guys who he headbutts like no other. I'm so intrigued by the show, but also I'm like, what are you getting at? Like, what y'all think about that section? Because that section is just like a little bit of dialogue, but a lot of like little action things that get these characters across. So we get the character of this one dude who wants to see Greece. He not really want to be there. We get the other dude who's in debt to these people, but he's like, you know what? I'm just going to fight my way out of it. And he does. what is like the reason behind this? You think how they tell these characters, how they give these characters their characters?
I think they're showing you that they are corrupt cops. I think that's what that whole thing was about.
I did feel like they were
super corrupt though.
I thought they were cops, but I didn't know if they were going to mention the fact they were cops because we'll get into it in a second because it's the back half of the episode is mainly focused on them. But it's also like, it's also mentioning like they seem like they know something about everything that's going on, so they have some kind of understanding. It was interesting.
Yeah, I think they're introducing some new main supporting characters.
Okay.
Like you guys are probably gonna go for the long haul.
So then we cut back to where the
people to watch.
Yeah. Then we cut back to where the ball is, the ball of human, as I'll put it, which is kind of a weird, sad thing to say.
The ball of human.
Which is a weird and sad thing to say, but that's what it looks like. We see this.
That's what it was.
That's what it was. You're right. But then we see this mummy-like figure standing on top of it, and he just punches his hand down flat, and breaks it. Before that, though, there were cops standing at it wondering what it was. The cops were like, "Okay, cool, nothing to worry about. We'll get some help." They leave. Then you hear the crash, breaking of it, and then he gets off it, is standing next to it, and he just fades away in the distance and leaves. And the cops are like, we were just here like a minute ago. What? Why did that? All right. We're gonna have to call people. Cool. So then that's when we get the phone call from the black shirt dude to the blonde haired guy and goes, "We need to go down to this place and get this." So then we go back to the trio at the house. They're like, "I didn't kill the people. I'm gonna do whatever I have to make this world peaceful. And if I have to kill some people to do it, I will." And the guy with the goggles was like, "Are you serious? You would really go that far?" But then the girl's like, "Do you want to become She goes, "Do you want to become an assassin?" He's like, "No, I don't think I have the ability to become an assassin." I'm like, have you seen what he's done? I don't think you want him as an assassin. I love the fact they were like, they kind of played off his like, he doesn't know much about the world, but he's still trying to learn to be human. Then we end off. Yeah, he's learned. So then we end off the episode. We see the blonde-haired guy, the black shirt with black hair guy, walking to where the crime scene is, and they say, "Well, the normal people can't handle, so we have to handle it." So we have the Grim Reaper. We have I think it's Lemmings is how you say his name, and then Firebug. I think the Firebug is the red herring. I think that doesn't count to anything unless they're mentioning. The only thing I can see them mentioning is what happened with the burning building. In the burning building, they saw the skeletons that were fire, like blazing with fire. Could have been a thing. But it seems like they know what's going on in this world. So they know the Grim Reaper, well, the little thing of death is in this world. We know Lemmings dude is probably the dude with the mummy-looking mask. And Firebug is either two things. Carice, or it's something else, somebody else we haven't even met yet. And then that's where the episode ends pretty much. So we see the broken up thing and the episode ends. My question, what do you think of the ending of this, where we learned about some new things, but also, who's your favorite character as of right now that we've seen?
Chris, you want to go? You want me to go?
Yeah, you got it, bro. Because I think I already said it.
I'm with it. I'm gonna just. Here comes the man in black. No, these guys gotta be like the top government agents. Like,
So
cause he sobered up the moment he like walked up. Like, oh, okay.
yeah, he did sober up pretty
Like
fast.
these guys got.
That was kind of funny.
Yeah. These guys are. What's the Bones and Scully? What's the guys from?
Oh,
X-Files?
yeah.
These guys got to be the guys on top. So I'm thinking these are going to be like our arch nemesis, since our main character is running with assassins and these guys are cops. I'm feeling like they're about to clash, which is why we pay so much attention to them now.
Okay.
Other than that, they have no reason to really show them before them walking up, being, this karate god in a stairway and a drunken person looking for the leader of the Assassin's Guild. My nerdness just popped out, but right. Yeah, she's the leader of the Assassin's Guild, and you're like, oh, I want to see her. You're a cop. But, okay. Yeah, sure, buddy.
Yeah, I got you.
That's got me. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, my favorite character right now is the tech guy. He seems like he's the only one that's paying close attention to detail.
Hakami. I think that's his name.
Yeah, Hakami. Yeah. No. It's between my three, and it's gonna be weird what I'm about to say. It's gonna be Carice, Hakami, and the girl that's a zombie now. Because they're all so
Misaki.
Mihaki, yes, Mitaki. They're also different. They're also different to the point where Hakami is like Chris said, Hakami is like, I'm listening to all this right now. I'm basically have this in the back of my brain for later. I'm watching this all play out, so I know if something go down, I have an alibi, basically.
See, that's weird. I do not like him.
But also,
I'm not liking him at all.
But he's skeptical. He's skeptical. He has to be, even though he works for Carice.
Yeah, but
he don't.
You killed me, bro.
Yeah.
You don't have the grounds to be skeptical of me. You killed me.
That's true. That is true.
You see this scar on my neck. You thought to kill me twice. And you're skeptical of me? That's just out of I don't know.
But I also think with Carice, I think we're gonna figure out why she's doing what she's doing. She said she want to help people, but I also want to see if she knows about the cops, because if she knows about the cop dude, because that phone call she got, I'm wondering if that phone call was from the bar. I wonder if the bartender called her after they left. So we don't see that. We don't know who she's talking to. We don't even hear her name. I'm going to be interested.
Well, what if it's the other way around?
She called the bar?
Yep, she called him.
Okay. I can see it.
He's the boss lady, so.
Yeah.
Unless he was calling to warn her about the cop that was there, if he knows that he's a cop.
Correct. That's
either that or the cop is on her payroll.
That too.
Oh.
That cop could be on the payroll. Could be on the payroll.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Plot twist.
I have to say, I'm loving this right now.
Yeah, he goes with my favorite character.
I'm loving this show right now, even though it's not like heavy action. We still have so many interesting characters that are so fun, and I never thought like this is kind of like, it's not really a horror anime in a sense, but I think it has that darker tone. But no, it's not super dark as like Jujutsu Kaisen or even like Chainsaw Man. It has a slight darker tone, like a Halloween type dark tone. And that's what we're getting at here. We're getting at that Halloween kind of dark tone with a little bit of isekai in it, with isekai inside of it. And I think it's one of the few things I think works well because you have strong characters across the board, and all the characters work off each other so well. So before we get into Jujutsu Kaisen episode 27, season 2, and hope you're getting that up as we're talking through this, gentlemen, I have a question for you. What would you rate Dead Mount Death Play episode 3?
I'm gonna say I'll give it a 7.5.
Okay. Explain.
Yeah, I'll give it a 7. I'll give it an 8. I'll give it an 8. Simply, we get to see his powers again. We get to see this dope scene where he turns he creates the ball of people. But we also get to know a little bit more about his character. I'll take it as a 7 because after that, it's pretty much just all dialogue, and it's dialogue that's sporadic. Like it's not a moving scene. It's clips and jumps around from different people to different things. But it still ties in at the end. It still gives you like that moment ready for the next episode at the end. And I like that when you get to see Lemmings, who's this looks like he may become my favorite character just off that one thing he did. And just like you crack open his ball of rock that he made and then just disappear. Like that was awesome. But I'm thinking it's not as good as the first episode, and I only gave the first episode like an 8. So I don't want to give it too much, but it was decent. It was a good episode.
Okay, Chris, what would you give it?
For me, I'm gonna say it like this way. The episode really started out really good. It started on a high note, with giving you good and useful information by trying to introduce you to the characters and kind of give you the situation that all of them are in as a team, all of them are in individually. Kind of like what Deon was saying in the very beginning, they're kind of like still kind of setting the tone for the anime. So, but and they did give you at least a few different good action scenes, so just to kind of tell you what they're capable of. So again, they're still setting it up. So therefore, I'm going to give this episode a 7.9.
Ooh, okay. I'm right between both of y'all. So I think it's going to be 7.5. I agree with Chris and Deon. I think the beginning was really good. The middle kind of bounced around a lot and a lot of more dialogue. It is very dialogue heavy, so that is kind of hard to convey when they do a lot of dialogue. But the fight scene in the middle of the episode was amazing. Like, that fight scene was just fun. And then the ending with a lot of dialogue, a lot of plot twist stuff, a lot of stuff we're going to find out later, and leaving us on a cliffhanger. Basically, the line from the blonde dude going, "Oh, this is Lemmings, the Grim Reaper," which is the main character, and somebody else. So we're going to find out all that later. But other than that, I think it was a good episode. I think the strongest episode so far has been the first or second. Probably, I would say the first episode strongest. But I think as we get closer to the middle of the season, I think we'll get a lot of those answers and more things. But let's get into Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, Episode 27. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode almost made me want to cry. Only because the ending. And
cried.
Oh man.
the ending.
Oh man.
And I'm not gonna spoil anything because we're gonna watch through it. But this was so heartbroken.
Let me get my box now.
Because the beginning was so
Yeah.
the beginning was so fun, and yet the middle was interesting, and then the ending just pulled your heartstrings. And I actually called something at the end of the episode. I actually called something from last week, and I'll mention it at the end of the episode. So stay tuned for that. But I will give the 3, 2, 1, and then we'll get to it. So gentlemen, are you ready?
I gotta take my deep breath. Okay, let's go.
All right.
Deep breath, man. Deep breath. Stay strong.
All right. So 3, 2, 1, let's go. Episode 27, Season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen, Hidden Inventory, Part 3. So they're trying to figure out how to get her back, but they don't want to take her with them to get her back.
I love that it picked up right where it left off.
Correct. Literally right where I left off.
It answered a lot of questions in the first 10 seconds.
They probably meant for this to be a movie. I'm telling you.
Yes, they did. They meant this for the movie. You can tell now this is not supposed to be episode of breaking.
Yeah, they literally just pausing and stopping the movie every week.
Yep.
You do not have to make Gojo look so cool, by the way.
He's like the epitome of just awesome.
Like those eyes, man. Those eyes. Don't do that.
Man, the glasses, the eyes, the hair. I love the hair.
And then they go to a thing like this.
They're going to the beach, basically.
But with Gojo, they are competing with Kakashi, so you got to kind of up the cool factor.
Obviously.
Let me ask you this question, Brandon, since you like Gojo. Who's cooler? Adult Gojo that we know now with the full like bandana around his eyes, or young Gojo with the sunglasses and you see his eyes all the time? And
I think older Gojo, because older Gojo also is kind of just like, I don't care. I care, but also I don't care, because he don't like the adults, but he understands what he has to do to protect everybody. So it's kind of like, He has a balance between both his young version and his older version now.
Yeah, he's got that still like carefreeness from his younger self, but with a more sense of duty in his adult self. Like, but I like the sunglasses.
Oh yeah, so basically he looks like, if you could have think like young Nick Fury, that's basically what it looks like. Young Nick Fury, just kind of just like cocky, but he knows what he can do.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great reference, the Nick Fury reference. Oh my goodness. Just like unstoppable.
Like who are you to stop me type of.
Yeah. I'm noticing a pattern. Yeah, I'll mention it when we go through it at the end. But there's definitely this pattern.
Part, he literally checks everybody. He was that thorough, which is kind of funny because they're like just kind of worried.
The dragon from the never-ending story.
I will say this is odd right here because we're meeting new classmates, first years, but yet it feels weird because we're not. This doesn't feel like this should be here.
But you know who the blonde dude is, though.
Yes, we do. We know who the blonde dude is.
I think we know both.
The other one
That's what I'm saying. We just haven't figured out who the other person is yet.
Yeah. They've both been in the season before, the first season, but I don't know from where.
Right.
And then actually that's actually a thing from the first season where they say there's not many curse users outside of the main city. So there's very few curses outside the main city as well.
Wait a minute. I just got a neat question for our Bleach fan.
What's the question? I wonder.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gojo was in. If he was at the bridge that day, and he had noticed the spirit / curse that the main character in Bleach ran into, would his character still exist?
Would the Bleach character still exist?
Yes.
Yes. And it goes deep into why. It goes super deep into why. And those of you who are watching right now, the 1,000 years, you know why. But yes. Absolutely.
I'm sorry to cut you off, gentlemen. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about this section right here. We have no dialogue, just music, just scenes. And the thing that reminds me of is this reminds me of at the beginning of the second episode, they go, the teacher goes, do whatever she wants to do. And that's what they're doing. They're doing what she wants. Like,
I will say the music is very beautiful.
It matches a beautiful scene.
yes, it does.
Tones of blue.
Oh, just to give you guys some backstory, the blonde-haired guy is the guy with the tie from season 1.
That's who I thought it was.
So the first year that we
he's the one who's always talking about being on time and
being on time,
taking his money.
Yeah, so that's what I thought.
He left Jujutsu High to be in the corporate and came back.
Yep.
Oh, God. Oh, this is where they get rough.
All right. Where's one fifty?
This is gonna get worse. Oh man! All right.
Man, there's a scene like this looks familiar.
Wait, they've met before.
Ooh.
That is still crazy. He put up the bounty.
Well, remember his original mission was always Gojo anyway.
Oh, okay. Well,
What's
yeah.
your timestamp? What's your guys' time?
13:24.
You
need to pause?
No. We're good.
Okay.
Well, I'm at
I just wanted to make
1329.
I just didn't want to say anything about this dope little fight scene. You guys think that yet? So tired.
By the way, he's still bleeding. He's still bleeding from the chest.
No cursed energy. I feel like a teenage girl right now. Gojo, oh my goodness.
Jeez.
But this guy,
He just leveled an entire almost village with one hand.
here goes another reference.
The bugs were a distraction. Jeez. He butchered him.
Made you clear your throat, huh?
This is hard to watch.
Oh, very.
I need that weapon.
Ooh, man.
It only goes from bad to worse, gentlemen. This is gonna get downright.
No, he went from great to dead.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
God.
Yeah. That's true. That is true.
I completely forgot that I watched the entire first season after seeing that.
Had to get your Gojo juice. He really
Like, I
just
noticed
couldn't watch Zero.
Man.
I love this small detail here. So that was the only dialogue we've gotten now. And now we just have them walking into this place. And this is the first time they've said something to each other.
Man, this scene is so messed up, bro.
Man.
Oh,
This is what made me cry.
It's like after seeing Gojo, You come to some ish like this.
Chris, this place looks something out of like Demon Slayer. What they're walking into looks like something out of like a Demon Slayer village. My word, like this
Yeah, it does.
looks
It
amazing.
really does. The only difference is that Demon Slayer will have that scene, but have a whole fight scene in there.
Yes, in there.
So all those buildings for one person?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So he's actually like living down there. This part.
Okay, this is the part I didn't think about. They hit you with the music, the ending music, and I'm like, what are you doing?
This is what I'm saying. You just let happen. Just
Oh God.
can't stop it. You can't stop fate.
By the way, I love the parallel. So we started the episode with her underwater, like a vision of her underwater. We're ending the episode with her underwater.
Comes back.
Come full circle.
It's like we knew her life was ending at this point. We knew that. He was to sacrifice her body so the dude can be reincarnated.
Mm-hmm.
But she chose her life. That was nice.
And then the record scratch. The record scratch. That just, yep.
This it takes me off. All of that. He goes through all.
Yeah.
Job's done. We can stop the episode right here.
Okay. We're not gonna do a full play-by-play of this because we'll be here all night. But I'll give you this. I called one thing. I called two things technically. First of all, with seeing Gojo die, now we have a reason for him to change. Now he has a reason not to be so cocky. We now have a reason knowing that he changes his way he does things. The second thing, the ending shot of that episode, you see his best friend go like, you know what? I'm gonna just destroy you now. You killed my best friend. You're dead to me, or you're dead basically. Now we see why he turns evil.
Everything's over.
Yes.
You killed the girl I was supposed to protect. You killed my best friend. Like, everything I believe in is now twisted. Yeah.
So I'm gonna give you.
Can we save it? Say it again, Chris. Can we say this though? He had to work extremely hard to kill Gojo.
He did.
Even before this episode, he had even said, nobody has ever seen me sneak up behind him except for him. So I had to work hard in order for me to get here.
So I'm going to give you
as
3
true
high
as that
points.
is.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Brandon. Because I was about to get in Deon, man. It's all right though. I'm gonna let him have his moment.
I'm gonna give him.
No, what happened? Go ahead. What?
No, go ahead. Go ahead, because I think I.
Let me crank it up so you can hear me correctly. Saying all that makes you feel better because Gojo really went down like a wimp.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, yeah, you're not wrong.
He did not. He leveled an entire city with his left hand.
Yeah, he did level up entire city.
He did.
The only reason why he won is because he cheat tactics and cursed objects. He only won because he was fast.
You know what though? Mauricio and Demon Slayer said it best. Having a fancy weapon is nice, but if you can't hit me, well.
I will say this. How does that work out for him? The only thing I'm gonna say is, if Gojo hadn't been worried about the girl, and this is why the end of the show ticked me off so much with her getting shot in the head anyway, is if he had not been thinking, oh, he's going after her, and turned his attention for that slight second, he would have been able to stop him.
Correct.
Because he even was like, oh, he notices me. Even his he's able to notice me. But he can't stop this blade, but he still notices me and nobody else does. If he had not turned his attention for that 0.5 of a second, he would have won that fight. But yeah.
So I'm gonna give you y'all both are good. I love this. That's why I like you as the expert. So I'm just here to moderate things. But I'll say this. I'll give you the big 3 things we saw from this episode. The beginning of this episode, we saw them head to the beach. We saw them have fun. The middle of this episode, we see them trying to head back to the school, get back into the things. We see him stab Gojo in the middle of the fight. And then the end of the episode, with the lovely music, her saying she don't want to go down and simulate with Tensama. And you hear the music play, and it's so sweet and nice and beautiful. And yet, then you hear a gunshot. Then you hear the record scratch. Then you hear everything stop. And she's on the floor dead. I'm going to put it to you this way, gentlemen. The beginning was happiness, sweet, caring. The middle was trying to finish the mission. The ending was to give her back her life. And they were going to protect her. I don't know about
Jujutsu Kaisen came out this week.
I have never seen a show do a 3-act episode or 3-act play in an episode. In a sense, I'll say a 3-act play. Here's the acts. First act, we come back from what happened last episode, trying to save the maid. They save the maid. They take a little vacation, take a little rest, do what she wants. For the first part to the beginning to the middle of the episode, they do what she wants, going to aquarium, doing all these nice things. No music at one point, just visuals. They finally get back to school. They have to get back to school, so they're going back to the school, and they're like, "We're back to school. Get her down to the thing so we can simulate." The whole time, like you say, Deon, Gojo's worried about the girl, not what's his name, because he let his guard down, and that hurt him. Then we have this amazing fight between Gojo and the guy. Like he said, he had the cursed weapon so he could fight faster. Speed over power, basically. And then from there, we cut to the maid, the younger Ruko, and the other sorcerer, his best friend, and they get down to the bottom. She hugs her maid goodbye. They're crying. Music stops again. They're just walking to the center of this building, and they don't say a word to each other all the way while they're walking. They finally walk in there and they go, "This is beautiful, but I don't want to do this. I can't do this. I'm gonna miss my life. I'm gonna miss the people. Miss everything I want to do. I want to do more in life. I want to have a life, basically." And then Gojo's best friend's like, "Okay, we can go home. We can protect you. Don't worry about that." Before we have the music start playing, we have everything started going. And as she's pouring out her heart, they do the parallel of the water from the beginning and the water from now at the end, showing that she really is going to miss everybody, the school, her maid, all that kind of stuff. Then we get the record scratch and the gunshot that ends her life. And he asks, "Where's Gojo?" And the guy's like, "What are you talking about? Oh, you mean your friend Gojo? He's dead." And he's like, "Okay. Now you're gonna die. I'm gonna bring out every spirit I have, literally every spirit he has in his disposal, and we're to fight." That is probably the best 3-act plot you could do in 30 minutes. And yet it was focused, it was interesting, and it wasn't off the cuff. It had a purpose.
And it's number one on the ratings list. Like you said.
Correct. There's the reason why it's number one. Ladies and gentlemen, and I don't know, I'm gonna ask the gentleman this before I end the night, but I implore you, if you haven't started watching Jujutsu Kaisen, absolutely do. Because it's a mix of action and storytelling. This is probably the best mix of action and storytelling I've seen this season from the show, and yet it didn't miss a beat. The only thing I think didn't really hit, and I think it's only because I didn't know it first till Deon mentioned it, is the two students we see, there's two young students we see the first years, the blonde-haired dude and the brown-haired dude. The blonde-haired dude turns into the working class dude that has a 9-to-5 job. He doesn't like doing overtime. He's always on time. That one. So that makes sense. But it just feels off against everything. But yet it works out because the brown-haired guy says, "I want to meet Gojo. I want to meet the man who's so strong and so powerful, and I'm going to work alongside him." Now that he's dead, well, that's not going to happen. So I have two questions. What was the best part of this episode for you? And what would you rate this episode?
Go ahead, Deon.
No, because I know that you're going to be like, the best part was the fact that Gojo died. So,
Wow.
I will say this, though. I'm noticing a pattern with these episodes before I get into my rating. I'm noticing this pattern that, like we said earlier, it does seem like a movie, but it seems like they're telling a story and they're like telling it to somebody who's like, "All right, yeah, keep on, go on to the better part. All right, we know they're getting the fight. Let's get to the good stuff." And I see that when I think the last episode we skipped the fight scene in the beginning and went straight to the fact that they won. We skipped the kidnap scene. In this episode we went to straight to they already rescued her. Like, they covered the fact that she got kidnapped and picked up where they left off. They went straight to the fact that she saved and it's like, let's get to the meat and potatoes. And I love that once I've developed this theory in my head. It may not be what they're actually doing, but because I've developed this theory, it now makes sense. And now I like that about these episodes. So with that being said, I give this episode, I hate to say this, but I give it a 9. I'm going to give it a 9 because they're pushing barriers, going places that you wouldn't expect or anime. They killed their main character. And the episode wasn't over. They didn't cut scene end episode with him lying dead. They're like, all right, we killed the main character, but oh well, let's finish the story. So it's like pushing boundaries, it's giving good fight scenes, it's barely any dialogue, gave us beautiful artistry. And I'm like, okay, what possibly can you do next? You gotta go above and beyond this. So I'm gonna give it a high rating.
Okay, Chris, Deon gave it a 9. What say you? So the first question I asked, what was the biggest takeaway from this episode? Second, what would you rate the show?
Okay, so besides the fight that Deon mentioned, I think my most favorite scene and my biggest takeaway is the evolving story of this short scene. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they did something clever if the next episode is actually the start of the characters that we have come to know, and then save like part 4 for like the end of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if they did something like that. But my favorite scene was actually the scene with her in the aquarium with the tones of blue and how bright it was, because it's showing it through the eyes of somebody who's probably never been to the aquarium before. You know, you're seeing these magnificent. Yeah, well, I mean, it's like she's experiencing these things and she's taking it in, and it's beautiful, and this nice melodic piano music is playing, and it's really just setting the tone. It's a pleasant evening at the aquarium, and that was a nice scene. That was a really well thought out, pleasant, really set the tone for the beauty of the scene.
For her dying, no.
So therefore, I am giving this episode a 9.3.
Ooh. Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, only reason why I didn't get a 10 is because Gojo died. Out of all people.
No, the only reason it didn't get a 10 is because even though I liked that musical scene, they could have done something a lot more better to get more to the story.
Yeah, it was kind of drawn out, huh?
Which musical scene? The one at the end where it's like the music starts and then it ends up cutting out after she gets shot, or is that the one in the middle where it's like it does all the music?
The very same scene that I said I liked.
The one in the middle.
The one in the middle where they're at the aquarium and everything, and it does feel off because there's no dialogue in that whole section. It's just like beautiful pictures, them looking at things, light violin music and piano music. It doesn't have, so the gravitas doesn't really feel right, but it's also kind of like they're saying they want to give her the most fun she's gonna have before she has to be assimilated. So I get the point. It just kind of feels disjointed.
Yeah, I get it. So
it Gojo says that before it goes into it.
Yeah, it is drawn out. A little bit drawn out. This, man, this is tough for me. I think for me, it's the parallels. It's the parallels between the beginning of the episode where we see her underwater, kind of just like just being around all the fishes and everything. And then they go on the back half of the episode and go, here's that same water scene, but she's thinking about all the people she's going to miss. So it's like they basically told her arc through the whole episode and told us why you should care about her. And yet they kind of telegraphed she was going to probably die. Because the old thing of like my life flashing before my eyes.
Yeah.
And it's the old thing of like, I haven't experienced everything. I've experienced having, like, it's the old movie trope of, like, I've experienced my first kiss. I've experienced going on this fast roller coaster. I've experienced in this feud and throwing up. And they do that in such a way where it's not like she's saying all this. You can just see it through the pictures of like looking at the school, looking at her maid, being around her, hugging her maid literally, and just like crying. So you can tell that they understood that they had to make this balance out to each other. But on the flip side, I do agree with Quist that that part where the water, they showed the aquarium stuff in the middle, it is kind of long and kind of tedious. And I don't think it works the same way that I think you would have them talking. I think you should have them talking or had her talking and explain maybe in before.
There's a little underlying dialogue.
Underlying dialogue like, oh, this is so awesome. I'm going to miss this. Or something to give us the hint of like, she's really going to miss having her life. So that doesn't really play off that much.
Like they could easily have said like why the aquarium is so important to her.
Correct. And we would see them playing at the beach with fish. So there's parallels there too. Like they're using the water and fish thing more than once. But ultimately, I have to give this up. I would have to give this episode a 9.2. Like this is probably one of the pinnacle episodes of an anime series that I could think of in a long time. Where it hits you in the right places. It does a good story and it gives you so much to think about.
Can I change my score?
Go ahead.
I want to raise it. For the simple fact that, and I just thought about this as you were saying that, they set us up for her to die the entire show from episode 1.
Yes.
They set it up for her to die. We all got cool with the idea of her dying. And then at the very end, they snatch that away from us and make her die anyway.
Yeah. Absolutely. That is basically what they did. I
was trying to point that out earlier.
Wait, we are all okay with you dying. We have come to terms with you being on your deathbed. You want this sacrifice. Cool. Then you say no. We're like, oh, yeah, cool. She's going to turn around and they're going to walk away. But I kind of want her to die anyway because Dojo just died for her to be able to die. And then she dies. It's like, but that's not the way we wanted her to go. It was complete, like, mind blown at the end. I love that.
So
your
good
new
job.
score is what?
Yeah, what's the new score?
My new score is like a 9.7. Because Joe still died, so I can't give it a 10.
So we only have 3 more episodes left in this arc of the hidden inventory. Then we go to, I think it's premature. I think something is the other half of this arc, which is 17 episodes. In that 3 episodes, they're going to have to tell us a lot of things. But I'm here for the ride. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't implore you. Stick with us because we're going to continue this. I think we're so intrigued now to see where this goes. It's going to be very interesting. Both shows have intrigued us immensely. But overall, next week we might go more in depth with everything. Like I said, if we actually went play by play for this episode, we would be here another hour. That would have been worth it. So I just gave you the top 3 things off this list. If you think of anything else as I put it up on YouTube or have any comments or thing, please let me know when I put it up on YouTube. Hit me up on Twitter at BMcClendon24 as well. Hit me up and see what you think there. I thank Chris and Deon for joining me. We'll be back next week for episode 15 of the Anime Dojo, episode 4 of Dead Mount Death Play, and episode 4 of Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. one is just dark, the other is pulled at your heartstrings. Now we're gonna see where Jujutsu Kaisen ends up after we got our heartstrings pulled. Are we starting off with a fight next week, or are we starting off with, I don't know, Gojo rising from the dead? We'll see. But I do thank you for watching. Hope you did enjoy, and hope you for next time. See ya.
Later.
Peace.